show. That was awesome. Couple mistakes, whatever. Gotta get warmed up. So how's it sound if you capo up, you know? That's what I want to know next. What's it sound like in a fiddle tune and say, hey, put your capo on. I haven't played that in a long time. Messed up on that one little part. I like it in A, you know, because it gives me a wider neck up here when you capo up. Definitely a nice bright sound. a couple of fiddle tunes. That's how I decide what I'm going to play on an individual guitars. What do I think that guitar does really good? And this guitar is really snappy and punchy and really well balanced. You know, everything's nice and clean and bright and snappy, clear across the board. So it does stuff like that really good. Like for instance, I don't know that I would play something. Sounds pretty good on it, but I would like to have maybe a little bit more bass, a little bit more something. I'd probably play that on the 37 D-28 Authentic. So get that rich bass, big fat rich sound. This is a punchy guitar. So, all right, we'll see you later. We're going to do another fiddle tune today, and I had a really good question about how do I decide what tune I'm going to play on what guitar. Remember the original thing about this fiddle tune business was a subscriber to my YouTube channel wanted to hear me play actual fiddle tunes on the various guitars that I have available for me to play on. So today's guitar is a 1965 D-21, and there's a really nice funny story about this. That is, a particular 1965 D-21 absolutely changed the way that I thought about guitar setup. It belonged to the late cowboy poet Buck Ramsey, who was a family friend of ours. And anyway, I was over at his house playing his guitar, and he said, "You just take that guitar home." And I'm like, "Really? You want me to take your D-21 home?" He said, "Yeah, I'll take it." So I left him my 1973 D-28. I took his guitar home, and I had it for about 2 years. And that night, I was playing so much faster and cleaner and more interesting than I had ever played on my D-28. The guitar was so easy to play. I realized at that point that the setup of the guitar can actually make a lot more difference than a lot of people give credit to. A lot of people say, "Oh, it's the Indian, not the arrow," you know. Well, no, it's not, you know. I used to shoot competitive archery. I have 2 state championships. And what I found out is it is actually the combination of the Indian, that'd be me, the bow, and the arrow. And all 3 of those things have to work together, because you can shoot the wrong arrow out of that bow, and you can shoot good, you know. You can shoot better than somebody that is not such a skilled archer. But you will never shoot your best unless the arrow and the bow and you are all tuned to each other. And that taught me a lot about guitar setup. And it said, you know, sometimes it is the guitar, sometimes it is the strings or the pick or whatever. So all 3 things have to work together. Anyway, that guitar showed me that. So I gave the guitar back to Buck, and years went by, years and years and years and years, and Buck passed away, and I asked his widow, I said, you know, what happened to that guitar? Well, it was given to someone else, which is fine, you know. Years went by. I got an email from my friend Tim, and he said, "Hey, I've got this guitar student here in Amarillo, and he's got a guitar, a D-21, that used to belong to a guy named Buck Ramsey, and it needs some work." And I'm like, yeah, you know. So I got the guitar in. I got the D-21 back in. I worked on it for free, just out of gratitude. Anyway, so I kept my eyes open for a D-21. And I saw one on the Martin Forum come up for sale. And it was in 1965. All these years I had thought Buck's was a 57, and I thought it was an earlier one or something. And when I got it in, I looked at it, I said, man, that's a 65, you know. So I bought the D-21 off the Martin Forum, and it came in, and I looked at it, and I go, look at that. I looked at the serial number, and I thought, wow. So I texted the owner of Buck's Guitar. I said, what's Buck's serial number again? And he told me. And this guitar was 14 serial numbers away. So I contacted the guy at Martin who keeps track of all this information. It turns out that this guitar and Buck's were made on the same day. Same batch, same day. So, I thought, man, that's cool. I mean, that's as close as I'm ever going to get to Buck's guitar. And in fact, this one's a little bit better because it's stock. It's 100% original. Buck's had a lot of crazy modifications to it, but a lot of which I fixed. And so, anyway, D-21. So, I'm playing the D-21 today. It's Brazilian Rosewood, and Kimsey Luthery owns this guitar, not me. Kimsey Luthery needs a Brazilian Rosewood guitar. It's Brazilian Rosewood back and sides, Brazilian Rosewood fingerboard bridge, 100% stock. Well, I was really blessed to have this guitar drop into my hands at a price I could actually afford. So we're going to play this guitar today. So the question to get to is, how do you decide what you're going to play on it? Now, as you know, I have a lot of guitars in the shop that I play, and they all have different necks, and you got to get used to them. I personally prefer a little bit wider neck. I prefer 23/32 or 1 3/4 inch, and a little bit wider bridge spacing. So I got to kind of get used to an instrument. And so the first thing I do, like with this guitar, I just play some chords and stuff and kind of get my fingers used to the feel. I listen to the guitar and I see what kind of sound it has. This is a non-scallop brace guitar, so it's very, very punchy. It's Brazilian Rosewood. It's bright, clean, sharp. What kind of fiddle tune would sound good on that, Now think about what kind of fiddle tunes I haven't recorded yet. So, first thing I do, play some licks, Snappy. Let's see what we work on it. The other thing is I'm doing fiddle tunes that I haven't maybe played in a while, and so I got to refresh my memories to how they go. So I start off kind of slow. That's Blackberry Blossom, So I just kind of fool around with that and see what I can get out of that. And my hands are freezing cold right now. So, you got to get your hands warmed up. You got to think about what you like. And what I like about this guitar is the bass is punchy. So instead of going... I tried to pull off a bass drum too. I want to see, where can I have enough room to punch that bass in there? There you go. I like Blackbird Blossom on that. I do have a little bit of trouble with the string spacing. String spacing is just a little tight, and I got to get used to that. It's 2 1/8 of an inch down here, and 2 1/4 would be perfect. It gives me just a little bit more room to get my arm moving, but it's getting used to the neck, getting used to where the strings are, getting used to the action, the feel of everything, and then you find out what you can do on it.